going to these NGOs that were purely leftist organizations that were turning out voters and getting all this, basically being a campaign front at taxpayer expense. And so you got to wonder how this is happening, because this is not in the legislation. There's no line item in a legislation that has these sort of things in it. So, Mr. Permack, I'd like to ask you, where are these decisions being made? Who's making the decisions about where these dollars go?
This is a combination of cooperation between the Congress and the White House. I can tell you that during my tenure at USAID, everything that we did had strong bipartisan support. Unfortunately, when President Biden came in—
But it's someone in an agency somewhere, is that right, making the decision at a how's that decision made? Who's making that decision? Like, that is before the check goes out, who's pushing the button that says send this check?
What you just heard is one of the most serious accusations raised on Capitol Hill in a long time, and honestly, it deserves far more attention than it's getting. Representative Michael Cloud did not exaggerate or posture in this hearing. He laid out a case that suggests the American people may have been unknowingly funding what witnesses described as the largest money laundering scheme in history, all under the cover of foreign aid. This was not political theater. It was a lawmaker asking very simple but uncomfortable questions about who is spending taxpayer money, where it is going, and why accountability seems to disappear once the money leaves Washington. No matter where you fall politically, that should concern you. If you care about transparency, responsible spending, and knowing where your hard-earned money actually ends up, you will want to watch this entire breakdown. I'm Audrey, this is Congress Lens. If you value clear and honest analysis of what is happening in Congress, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss what comes next. Now let's get into it.
Chairwoman, and I appreciate you holding this hearing. I appreciate you witnesses for being here. It's been astonishing to watch. We already knew that there was a tremendous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government, but to watch over the last few weeks as the extent and egregiousness of it has been revealed. I've said a number of times how aggravating it is that this government is forcing the American people to pay for the demise of their own country. We've seen this a number of times, especially in how foreign aid is treated, and much of this funding we're realizing now, as Mr. O'Neill has pointed out, we're uncovering is the world's largest money laundering scheme in history. And so I would like to think that if these kind of things were put to a vote, that our friends on the left wouldn't vote to support a pickle maker in the Ukraine, or to have transgender operas in other countries, or to send people to Paris Fashion Week and the like. I would like to think if that was a vote, that would also get a no vote on the other side of the aisle, that this dollar shouldn't be funding. But you got to wonder about the vitriol you see when these things come uncovered to protect these things. Now, definitely the border trafficking institution that was set up, the complete industry, the censorship apparatus, those are examples where we really saw that these taxpayer dollar funds were going to these NGOs that were purely leftist organizations that were turning out voters and getting all this, basically being a campaign front at taxpayer expense. And so you got to wonder how this is happening, because this is not in the legislation. There's no line item in a legislation that has these sort of things in it. So, Mr. Permack, I'd like to ask you, where are these decisions being made? Who's making the decisions about where these dollars go?
This is a combination of cooperation between the Congress and the White House. I can tell you that during my tenure at USAID, everything that we did had strong bipartisan support. Unfortunately, when President Biden came in—
But it's someone in an agency somewhere, is that right, making the decision at a how's that decision made? Who's making that decision? Like, that is before the check goes out, who's pushing the button that says send this check?
It starts with the administrator, goes down to the bureau level and the office level. But in the end, contract officers have to make sure at the Office of Acquisition Procurement that these are following U.S. laws and the policies of the president.
Contract officers. Now, are these people elected? We hear a lot about elected officials making these, certain decisions with
There's no one at USAID that is elected.
So, yeah, so the people sending the money are not elected officials. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. One of the issues we've had is trying to track this dollars once it goes out, to bring accountability to it. And there is no connection that we've been able to find to an employee ID number, for example, connected to where the grant money is going out or the contract money is going out. We're working on legislation to fix that. But one of the things that's really disturbing is the fact that some of the money that's going out doesn't even have a name of where it's going out. You talked about that, Mr. Roman. Could you speak to that for a second? It's to the tune of billions of dollars.
Correct. Miscellaneous foreign awardees. The issue with it is that while the individual grantees have to apply for a vetting process that USAID conducts in terms of a government review, including with counterterrorism databases, there's a self-certification process by their sub-grantees. It's as if though you hire a contractor in your house to redo your living room, and he hires a bunch of robbers to take everything out, and you're left with the spades on the wall rather than having a fully renovated room itself.
And so some of these dollars have been going to support terrorist organizations.
Right. And
taxpayer dollars going to support. Now, what would happen if we found a business that was funneling money to the Taliban?
They would be indicted. They would be charged, go before trial, and go to jail for a 20-year sentence for money laundering or for material support for terrorism.
So this is one of those cases where it's only legal if the government's doing it?
Right. In the opening chairman's remarks, she was saying that this is about fraud, waste, and abuse, and if it was anyone else, it's as if though a private citizen can't do this, but if a U.S. government agency or bureaucrat wants to give money to a terror organization, it's okay.
Yeah, I find that atrocious. I think the American people do too. Mr. Perback, I want to touch on one thing because I've talked to ambassadors across the world, and you hear this. We'd like to align ourselves with the United States. We don't want to align ourselves with China, but when we're talking to China, they're talking roads, bridges, infrastructure, those kind of things. Things we traditionally know as soft power, but right now, when they're talking to the United States, what they've gotten from our State Department over the last few years is social reengineering. Many of them have come to say, you know, our nation espouses Judeo-Christian values. They don't. And even as I talk to pastors across our country who are working to send millions into missionaries, their eyes in Christian universities to understand the fact that our State Department is actually sending billions to counteract those ideals. Could you speak to that?
You can quickly answer, and we have to move on.
I've spoken to many foreign African officials, for example. When they're meeting with Mr. Blinken, they were ready to talk counter-genocide. Instead, they got to social reengineering.
Okay. I now recognize the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr.
After watching the full exchange, it is clear that Representative Michael Cloud did what far too few lawmakers are willing to do. Michael Cloud focused on an issue that goes to the heart of public trust. Massive spending decisions are being made by unelected officials, with little transparency and almost no accountability. One of the most alarming moments in this hearing was the confirmation that billions of dollars were sent out under vague labels like miscellaneous foreign awardees. In some cases, there were no clear recipient names and no reliable way to track where the money actually went. There was not even a system linking those payments to a specific employee ID inside the agency. That alone should raise serious red flags. Michael Cloud also made it clear that many of these spending decisions are not explicitly approved by Congress through detailed legislation. Instead, they are made inside agencies like USAID, moving from administrators to bureaus, offices, and contract officers. None of these people are elected by the American public. So when Americans are told Congress approved the funding, what is often left out is how much discretion unelected bureaucrats have over where that money ends up. Another disturbing issue raised was how subgrantees are handled. According to testimony, once primary organizations receive funds, their subgrantees are often vetted through self-certification. That is not real oversight. That is a system built on trust without verification. One witness compared it to hiring a contractor to renovate your home, only to find that the house has been stripped instead of improved. Even more troubling was the acknowledgement that taxpayer dollars can end up supporting terrorist organizations. If a private company were caught funneling money to groups like the Taliban, it would face prosecution and severe penalties. When it happens through government channels, it is often dismissed as a policy mistake instead of treated as a serious offense. Michael Cloud rightly called out that double standard. He also raised concerns about how American foreign aid is perceived overseas. While countries like China focus on roads, bridges, and infrastructure, the United States is increasingly associated with social and ideological programs that many foreign nations neither asked for nor want. Witnesses described foreign leaders expecting discussions about security or humanitarian crises, only to be redirected towards social reengineering priorities. That approach weakens American influence instead of strengthening it. What stands out about Michael Cloud's role in this hearing is that he was not attacking the idea of foreign aid itself. He was challenging waste, secrecy, and a system that allows enormous sums of money to move with little oversight and few consequences. At its core, this hearing was about whether Americans still have the right to know where their money goes and whether anyone in Washington is willing to defend that right. Michael Cloud was willing to ask those questions. And regardless of political affiliation, that is what accountability should look like. This is why hearings like this matter, and it is why Congress lens will continue to watch them closely.